scientists have captured images of the mysterious giant squid in their natural habitat.
Elusive as a ghost, the animal no one had ever seen alive emerged from the total darkness beneath the ocean's surface.
If these divers hadn't captured these moments, no one would believe it because the government didn't want them to be seen by public. Every time deep-sea divers plunge into the ocean's depths, they face the unknown, teetering between awe and danger. But sometimes, the risks are worth it when they unearth incredible and unexpected finds. What other things lie hidden beneath the waves? Let us explore these fascinating underwater treasures that the government doesn't want you to know about. The amazing giant squid found in Japan. On a cold day in January, Yosuke Tanaka and his wife decided to go for a dive in Toyooka City, located in Hyogo Prefecture, Japan. Before they set out, local folks who sell fishing gear had told them about a really big creature spotted in the sea nearby. Feeling hopeful and a bit excited, the couple geared up and dove into the water. And guess what? They actually found it. It was a giant squid, about 8 feet long. Normally, these squids live super deep in the ocean, about 1,000 to 2,000 feet down, where it's so deep that sunlight barely gets through. And these squids, they can grow really, really big, up to 43 feet long. So, seeing one up close is pretty rare. The Tanakas were super lucky because this giant squid was swimming in shallower waters. It seemed like the squid wasn't in the best shape, probably sick and near the end of its life, which is likely why it came up closer to the surface. This unexpected meeting with such a huge and normally hard-to-see animal was a memorable moment, not just for the couple, but for everyone who studies the ocean too. But wait, there's still much more to it. Imagine bumping into something as big as a grown-up but looks totally out of this world, like something from a sci-fi movie. That's what Ronald Rash came across on October 6th, 2019. He was diving from a Norwegian ship called Rev Ocean, and they were near an old World War II shipwreck off the coast of Norway. There, in the water, about 55 feet down, was this giant, clear orb. Turns out, it was a squid egg sac, specifically from a southern shortfin squid, which has 10 arms. These squid egg sacs are not something you see every day. They are very fragile and not easy to get close to without damaging them. Each of these huge, jelly-like orbs can hold between 50,000 and 200,000 tiny squid babies. The sac itself is made of squid ink and mucus, which keeps it together and protects the little developing squids inside, while still being clear enough that you can actually see the tiny eggs waiting to hatch into baby squids. Finding something like this is a big deal for marine experts and ocean lovers because these giant egg sacs don't pop up very often. They have been found in places like the Mediterranean and near countries like Spain, France, and Italy, but each sighting is special and exciting. Back in 1917, during the tough times of World War I, there was a Swedish ship called the SS Kyros. It was carrying a very fancy cargo of French cognac and Benedictine liqueur, all meant for the Russian top-notch folks, including Tsar Nicholas II. But sadly, this ship never made it to its destination because a German submarine found it and sank it right in the Baltic Sea. The ship went down to about 253 feet deep, and there it stayed, untouched for more than 100 years, all kept in good shape by the super cold water. Fast forward to 2019, a group called Ocean X, led by two guys named Peter Lindbergh and Dennis Asberg, found the ship. They decided to try and bring up the old bottles of booze. Amazingly, they managed to get 900 bottles up from the depths. These bottles, surprisingly still probably okay to drink, had been sitting under the sea since the First World War. The booze haul had 50 cases of cognac with the brand KAC from Dartman & Company and 15 cases of that Benedictine liqueur. Even though drinking such old alcohol might seem risky, the find was incredibly valuable. People think it could be worth more than $1 million, though no one really knows the exact amount it got at auction. Each of these bottles isn't just full of old liquor. They're like a sip of history from a time long gone. After the exciting discovery, the divers never guessed they'd soon find something from a time when confidential codes were crucial. Historic code machine found in the ocean. In 2020, a group of divers went down into the chilly waters of the Baltic Sea. Their job was to get rid of ghost nets, those old, forgotten fishing nets that are dangerous for sea creatures. It's really important to clean these up because they can hurt or eliminate marine life. But during their mission, these divers found something totally unexpected and super cool. They spotted what looked like a very old typewriter, all covered in rust and algae. But this was no ordinary typewriter. It was actually an Enigma machine, an old device used by the Germans during World War II to send confidential coded messages. This machine was created by Arthur Scherbius right after the First World War and was really ahead of its time. The German military used it a lot because it had these rotating wheels that scrambled up letters to make messages that only someone else with an Enigma machine could read, if they knew the settings. This clever design made it really hard for anyone else to figure out what was being said, which was a big advantage in the war. That is, until some really smart people led by a British guy named Alan Turing figured out how to break the code. The machine these divers found had 3 of these rotating wheels, which means it was probably used on a German warship. The machines on submarines usually had 4 wheels. By the end of the war in 1945, when things were looking bad for Germany, a lot of their equipment was thrown into the sea to keep it from getting into the hands of the Allies. Finding one of these machines today is pretty rare, so it was a big deal when the divers brought it up. They handed it over to the Museum of Archaeology in Schleswig, where it could be looked after and studied. Here's something you might not believe unless you saw it: a giant sulfur-eating shipworm from the Philippines. Even though it's called a shipworm, it's actually a type of clam, not a worm at all. These creatures are related to the regular shipworms that have been known to munch through wooden ships for hundreds of years. But this new type of shipworm is different. It's changed its diet in a way no one expected. We didn't know much about them because we only found dead ones until recently, when scientists discovered living ones in the southern Philippines. Stay tuned to find out more about this and plenty more. What's weird is that these shipworms have started to eat sulfur. They live in places with a lot of rotting wood and other stuff that's breaking down, which creates hydrogen sulfide. That's a gas that smells really bad, like rotten eggs, and is usually poisonous. But these shipworms have found a way to use it. Inside their gills, they have special bacteria that help them turn the sulfur into something they can eat. This allows them to grow really big without having to eat wood like their cousins. Discovering these shipworms was a huge surprise for scientists because it shows how animals can adapt to use whatever resources are available in their environment. One day in October 2021, a guy named Shlomi Katzin decided to go diving in the Mediterranean Sea. While he was down there, he found some old stuff on the ocean floor. Among these things, he spotted a sword that was all covered in barnacles and looked really ancient. At first, he didn't realize what he had found, but it turned out to be a huge discovery: a 40-inch long iron sword from about 900 years ago, probably used by a Crusader knight. The place where he found the sword was known to have been busy during the Crusades. Those were big wars fought by European countries trying to take control of the Holy Land. The sword looked exactly like the kind knights used back then, with a long, straight blade and a big handle. After finding it, Katzin gave it to the local authorities so that experts could take care of it and maybe learn more about that period through the sword. The divers were still amazed by their latest find when another trip led them to something even more surprising: the party city of ancient Rome underwater. Imagine a city where the main thing people did was throw parties, enjoy luxurious lifestyles, and stay up late having fun. That was Baiae, a hotspot for the rich and famous from Rome. This town, right on the northwest shore of the Gulf of Naples, was famous for its gorgeous views, fancy houses, and really wild parties. Big historical figures like Julius Caesar, Nero, and Hadrian all had places there. Baiae was like the Las Vegas of ancient times, known for its over-the-top parties, huge meals, and lots of scandalous goings-on. Even Emperor Caligula got into the spirit of the place. He built a huge 3-mile bridge across the Bay of Baiae just to ride his horse across it and show off to his critics. But eventually, natural disasters like earthquakes started to hit Baiae, causing parts of the city to sink into the sea. Later, attacks and a disease outbreak led to the city being abandoned. Now, what's left of Baiai is underwater, and it's turned into a place where divers can explore and see the remains of its past glory days. The ocean keeps showing us that it's probably the scariest place on Earth. Just imagine you're swimming down in the deep, where it's already risky enough. And suddenly, right next to you, there's this huge jellyfish just floating by. It's always quite an experience to see a wild animal up close like that. That's exactly what happened to Lizzie Daly, a biologist and wildlife presenter, while she was diving near Falmouth during her Wild Ocean Week campaign. She and her cameraman, Dan Abbott, ran into a giant barrel jellyfish that was as long as 5 feet. They swam with this enormous jellyfish for more than an hour. It must have been something they'll never forget. These jellyfish are the biggest you can find in the waters around the UK, usually getting about 3 feet wide. But this one was huge. Though they look a bit scary, these jellyfish are not dangerous to us. Their sting is usually too weak to feel. Still, it's smart to stay a bit away from them, just out of respect for their space. And that's not the end of the story. Way out in the western Pacific, about 1,100 miles northwest of New Guinea, there's this place called Truk Lagoon in a part of Micronesia that has a pretty heavy history. For the longest time, people didn't know much about Truk until explorers started digging into its past. It first got a visit from Spanish explorers back in 1528, but by then, it was already home to different native groups. After a while, the Spanish took control, then sold it off to Germany in 1899. Later on, after World War I, Japan took it from Germany. During World War II, Truk Lagoon was turned into a major Japanese naval base, nicknamed the Gibraltar of the Pacific, with a whole bunch of warships and submarines. The natural harbor there made it a really important spot for Japan's military efforts in the Pacific. In February 1944, the U.S. attacked it in what was called Operation Hailstone, which lasted 2 days. This huge attack sank over 40 Japanese ships and destroyed more than 250 planes, and a lot of lives were lost. Now, Truk Lagoon is known for its sunken ghost fleet. Despite the past battles, the calm currents have kept the wrecks pretty well preserved. Divers who go there sometimes talk about feeling a chill, encountering weird water movements, and sometimes even feeling like they're being watched. Some even say they've seen ghosts of sailors or heard voices speaking in Japanese. Whether these stories are real or just tall tales is still up for debate. Back in 2017, a diver off the Australian coast came across something really strange in the water. It was big, bright, and kind of looked like a giant slinky. At first, even the experts couldn't figure out what it was. It seemed totally out of this world, but after a closer look, marine biologists figured out it was a huge cluster of squid eggs from a diamondback squid. These egg clusters are pretty rare and can be as long as 6 feet, with thousands of eggs in each cluster. The eggs give off a pinkish glow because they have these pigment cells that make them look bright and almost alien. This amazing sight just floats in the ocean until the eggs hatch. So, if you ever bump into something like this while diving, you'll know you're looking at something pretty special. With each dive, the team discovered more, and this time, they found something that might change what we know about exploring underwater. Unknown early diving device. Recently, off the coast of Florida, divers found what looked like a 17th century cauldron. But when they looked closer, it turned out to be something even more interesting. At first glance, this copper dome seemed like it might have been used for cooking, but it was found near the wreck of the Spanish treasure ship Santa Margarita, which sank in 1622, so it might have been used for something else. Experts are starting to think it was part of an early diving bell, which is a device used to explore under the water. Diving bells were some of the first ways people could go underwater and stay there for a bit, because they trapped air inside a bell-shaped chamber. This artifact is now kept at the Mel Fisher Maritime Museum in Sebastian, Florida, and it doesn't show any signs of being used as a cooking pot. It looks more like the diving bells described back in the 17th century, suggesting it's a piece of history from the early days of underwater exploration. Can you imagine needing a reminder to breathe while you're asleep? That's what it's like for whales. Sometimes divers see whales in the ocean standing upright in the water, which seems weird but is actually necessary for them. Whales need to come up for air on purpose because they can't just breathe out of habit like we do. so they sleep in a special way called unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, where one half of their brain rests while the other half stays alert. This half-awake, half-asleep setup helps them keep breathing and watch out for danger while they get some rest. This upright position makes it easy for them to pop up to the surface quickly to breathe. They usually do this in short spurts of about 20 minutes, over and over for several hours, to make sure they stay rested, but also safe in the open waters. But wait, there's still more to discover. In the deep and expansive ocean, there's a fish that really stands out because of how strange it looks and how big it gets. It's called the Mola alexandrini, or more commonly the bumphead sunfish. This fish is a sight to behold, not just because it looks unusual, but because it is the heaviest bony fish around the globe, weighing as much as 5,070 pounds. It's related to the mola mola, another type of sunfish. But the bumphead sunfish has its own distinct features. It can grow up to 10 feet long and has a big, noticeable bump on its head and a body that's almost perfectly round. These giants like to hang out in the warmer waters of our planet's oceans. They're often seen just floating on the water's surface, soaking up the sun's rays. Despite their intimidating size, bumphead sunfish are gentle and pose no threat to humans. In fact, swimming with these massive fish is something many divers find really enjoyable, even those who are new to diving. It's a common belief that if you drop your phone in the ocean, you might as well say goodbye to it forever. The chances of finding it are slim, and even if you do, it's likely it won't work anymore. But every now and then, something unexpected happens. That's exactly what occurred when Alex Schulze, the CEO and co-founder of the ocean cleanup organization 4Ocean, was diving in the Boca Raton Inlet in South Florida. During his dive, Alex stumbled upon an iPhone. At first, he didn't think the phone would still work, considering where he found it. But then he noticed it was inside a waterproof bag. Alex, who is quite used to finding all sorts of things under the sea, was surprised to see that the iPhone was still in perfect shape, despite spending time on the ocean floor. He took the phone back to the 4Ocean headquarters, charged it, and, to his delight, it powered on. He decided to use the emergency contact labeled as Mom on the lock screen to find the owner. Could these deep-sea discoveries simply be natural phenomena, or do they hint at something more strange lurking in the depths? Is there a possibility of things the ocean is hiding from us? We'd love to hear your thoughts on these intriguing finds. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more mind-blowing explorations and to stay updated with our latest content.